38 weeks ago, one rule is game. I'm the boss and I'll take fame. With my fantasy team, gonna rise to the top. No one can stop me. Gonna make 'em drop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. I am your host, Nash, and let's get into it. So, how was Gameweek 13 for you? Let me start off by telling you about my Gameweek 13. I got 102 points. Yes, you heard it correctly. Sometimes a guy who gives advice knows what he's talking about. So, let me tell you about my team. What I decided to do was when, after one of the international breaks, the second one, I decided it's time to use my wild card. And what I decided was I'm just going to go extreme. I'm just going to bank on the best players on the big teams. So I went Haaland, Palmer, Saka, and Salah. Yeah, you heard me correctly. So, of course, you know what that means. The rest of my team is just meh. So to fill in the gap, I went with a Nottingham Forest keeper who's been keeping clean sheets. And then I just went with an Everton defender, a Brentford defender, Ipswich defender, Leicester defender, and Southampton defender. All of them 4. And then for my strikers not named Haaland, I went with Wisa and Strand Larsen. So, as you know, Cunha has been the one who has been performing of late. But when he isn't performing, it's Strand Larsen. And so this was just a great combination of Wisa and Strand Larsen performing when Mbeumo and Cunha did not perform. So, and then in my midfield, I have Brennan Johnson. So, Haaland gave me 2. Strand Larsen gave me 11. Wisa gave me 8. Salah gave me 13. Brennan Johnson gave me 10. Palmer gave me 14. Saka gave me 36. Then my defenders did nothing. O'Shea gave me 1. Van der Berg gave me 2. Mikolenko gave me -1. Sels gave me 6. And if you're wondering who the actual players on my bench are, Fabianski, -1. Enzo Fernandez, 9 points. Howard Bellis, 1. And Faish from Leicester, 0. And that's how I got 102 points. So, let's give a brief overview of what happened this game week. People went with Cunha, Isak, and Jackson Martinez. Nicholas Jackson. And Cunha did nothing. Isak did nothing. And a lot of people who removed Wood for one of those guys. And then Wood, what does he do? Comes back and gets 9 points. And I told you, he was just subbed. It wasn't really a loss of form, although it was also a penalty, but he is the penalty taker. Then you have people who brought in João Pedro. Sorry. And this marks the 4th game week in a row that the most brought in player blanks. In other news, where was João Pedro playing left back? Oh, goodness. And then also, if you're a guy who's believing Aït-Nouri, I think it's time to get off him. The manager has changed his instructions. He's no longer playing like that Gareth Bale rule, which I've been previously harping on about. Mbeumo does nothing. You see 4-1, you think, yes, Mbeumo must have done something. No, just shudder. And nobody has him. Mazrui and De Ligt missed the clean sheet by 4 minutes each. Newcastle lost their clean sheet in the 94th minute. And so at this point, it's clear you have to have one of, or actually all 3 of Saka, Palmer, and Salah. If you're getting off Haaland. At 15 now, it is becoming increasingly difficult to justify having him in your team. Having said that, I do have him in my team and he's not going anywhere. He's just not going to be my captain. Also, do not enter the Leicester defense. There's a man called Faish. He's in my team. When I watch him, this man is worse than... He might be the worst Premier League defender. He's horrible. He makes bad decisions and is usually around whatever is going wrong at their backline. I don't know how he trains, but he is the one reason not to have Leicester defenders. I only have him because he's 4, and you've had my team. I have to get someone. Don't make that mistake. looking at the game week, the highest scoring game was West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. And that was an entertaining game. I captained Saka in this game, and I was so happy. West Ham just looked as bad as they have been all season. Makes the Newcastle result look like more of a fluke than anything else. Saka was immense in this game. 3 assists and a goal. The goal scorers were Gabriel, Havertz, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard. Not in that order. For West Ham, the wing-back scored. Wan-Bissaka and Emerson. Emerson scored a delightful free kick. And Wan-Bissaka scored a very good finish off a really beautiful pass from Soler. Soler and Paqueta had the assists for West Ham. Saka had 3 assists, Gabriel had 1, and Trossard had the other. That midweek demolition of Sporting really helped give them their confidence back. And Arsenal are looking like they've recovered and like they're just ready to attack. Might be too late with given Liverpool's form, but they're going to give it a good go. Saka got the 3 bonus points, Trossard got 2, and Odegaard scored, and he got 1. And Fabianski's clean sheets have ended now. And also something interesting that came out of that game, I don't know if it's interesting, but Gabriel may be under the concussion protocol because he got punched a good one by Fabianski for the penalty, which is why he got the assist. So in case you're thinking of bringing him in, just watch that space clearly and closely because the game week starts tomorrow on Tuesday. And it might not be enough time for him to be back. Spurs drew 1-1. Goals from Brennan Johnson and Tom Kearney. Assists from Iwobi and Werner. And this might be the disappointing game of the weekend because Spurs were excellent last time out and now they've just drawn, just showing the Jekyll and Hyde. Solanke did not play. He fell sick and was a last-minute cancellation. It's unfortunate for those of you who had him as captain. Brennan Johnson got the 3 bonus points. Timo Werner got 2. And Nelson from Fulham got 1. Southampton were unlucky not to defeat Brighton in the early game on Friday. So I guess that would be a bit disappointing for Brighton. But for all of you Mitoma owners, I'm sure you were very happy. Brentford defeated managerless Leicester 4-1. Schade hat-trick and Misa 1. Newcastle drew 1-1 and they continue their struggles. And it's a weird thing because Isak isn't scoring. They don't seem to be creating chances for him. And on the other end, Crystal Palace are beginning to get their stuff together. And they're becoming a bit more difficult to beat and they're creating chances. To be honest, in this game, they had 16 shots on goal and Newcastle only had 1 the whole game. So they deserve to win this game. In the Wolves game, the goalkeeper just blundered. He just blundered. I've never seen a keeper make so many mistakes. So it's like he was just asleep. He gave away 2 penalties and he was just asleep. There's just no other way to say that. He was just sleeping. 2 of those goals, actually 3 of those goals were just Wolves asleep. And Bournemouth really took advantage. Manchester United are back, baby! 4-0. Rashford 2 goals, Zirkzee 2 goals, Fernandes 2 assists, Amad Diallo 2 assists. We spoke about him last time, and I think he's roughly around 5.0. If you're looking for somebody in that midfield who is cheap, this might be your guy. Zirkzee had the 3 bonus points, Amad had 2, Rashford had 1. I think it's slowly becoming clearer that Amad Diallo, Fernandes, maybe not Fernandes yet, but Amad Diallo and Rashford so far have been consistent since Amorim took over. So those might be your guys. Just get in there and just continue. They're playing Arsenal, so I don't know if now is the right time to get into them, but watch this space. The marquee game of the weekend, so Liverpool take on Manchester City, and anybody could have told you, given their recent form, that Liverpool were going to win, and they did. Man City are not good right now. They've become that team which they were a few years ago when Kompany is injured, they do nothing. Rodri and Kovacic are out, they have nothing in the midfield. They have no replacements, they have nothing. John Stones is also injured, so they can't even put him in there. So people are finally going to just alter their record against Manchester City, give them some L's. I'm sure everybody's loving this right now. Gakpo got the 3 bonus points. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah got 2 each. Looking at the best players this week, Sanchez, Chelsea keeper, got 7, tied with Kelleher, who got 7 as well. Onana and Sels got 6. And rounding up the top 5 was Moric from Ipswich, who got 3, tied with Lumley and Forster. In defense, the top 5 are Cucurella, who got 11, tied with Munoz, who got 11. Gabriel got 9. Trent and Aina round up the top 5 with 8 points apiece. Midfield was king this weekend, and I'm just going to read to you everybody who got above 10 points. Shada, who is 5.1, got 23. Clivert, who is 5.3, got 20. Saka got 18. Palmer got 14, as well as Rashford. Mo Salah got 13. Trossard got 12. Ahmad got 11. Mitoma got 10. Brennan Johnson got 10. When it comes to the strike force, Zixi got 13. Evan Nilsson got 12. Strand Larson got 11. Gakpo got 9, along with Chris Wood. Let's look at some stats from the weekend. Manchester City have lost 4 consecutive Premier League matches for the first time since August 2008. This is the first time Pep Guardiola has lost 4 consecutive league matches. Liverpool are now 9 points clear at the top of the table, their biggest margin as leaders in the competition since the final day of 2019-2020, when they last won the Premier League. They seem to be like favourites to me right now. Mo Salah has now scored and assisted in a Premier League game for the 36th time, equaling Wayne Rooney. This was the first time in the Premier League where a match between Liverpool and Manchester City started without either Alisson or Ederson since 2017. Tom Kearney, who scored for Fulham, scored an away goal for the first time since 2010, making this, that's a ridiculous record, making this the longest gap between a player scoring in away matches, 14 years and 269 days. He has scored, just not away. Brennan Johnson is one of only 2 Premier League players to score 10 plus non-penalty goals across all competitions this season. It is him and Erling Haaland. In a cheeky one, Ruben Amorim is the first Manchester United manager to be 2 goals up at halftime of his first Premier League game at Old Trafford. In the Premier League, Nicholas Jackson has opened the scoring inside 10 minutes on 4 different occasions. He's the first person to do this and the only one who's done this so far. Kevin Schade and Justin Kluivert are 2 players who scored their first ever Premier League hat-tricks on the same day for the first time. The last time this happened was in 2007 when Roque Santa Cruz and Marcus Bent both did that for Wigan and Blackburn. Arsenal have scored 5+ goals in 5 away games in all competitions in the calendar year of 2024. This is a joint record by an English top-flight team in a single calendar year. Only Sunderland in 1892 and Manchester City in 1937 have done this. West Ham versus Arsenal is only the 4th Premier League game to see 7 goals scored in the first half alone. Blackburn versus Leeds in 97 was the first one. Bradford versus Derby in 2000. Reading versus Manchester United was the third. Saka has registered 10 assists in 13 Premier League games. Only Cesc, Ozil and Harry Kane have done this in a shorter time. Since the start of last season, Arsenal's 20 goals from corners and Gabriel's 5 goals from corners are both the most by a team and a single player in the Premier League. Justin Kluivert is the first player in the Premier League history to score a hat-trick of penalties in a single match, with Evan Nilsson being the first person in the Premier League to win 3 penalties in the same game. Kevin Schade is the 4th German to score a hat-trick in the Premier League. Klinsmann, Freddy Bobic and Schuller were the other 3. With 49 goals for Burnley and 24 for Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood is one of only 2 players to be the top or joint top scorer for 2 different clubs in the Premier League. The other player is Alan Shearer for Blackburn and Newcastle. Kluivert scored 2 penalties for Bournemouth in the opening 18 minutes against Wolves. It is the earliest a team has scored twice from the spot in a Premier League match. Wolves versus Bournemouth saw 3 goals enter in the first 8 minutes. This hasn't been done since Man United versus Tottenham in 2020. Kevin Schade was owned by 8,086 managers, and 15 of them captained him. He is the second Brentford player to score a Premier League hat-trick after Ivan Toney. He is the first Brentford player to be involved in 4 goals in a single Premier League game. Kluivert was owned by 88,000 people. 351 of them handed him captaincy. Well done to them. Since winning Manager of the Month in October, this was Espirito Santo's first win in November, and it comes in November 30. That's the Forest manager, in case you were wondering. Brentford have the best home form this season. They've won a possible 19 out of 21 points at home. For the first time this season, Salah is now owned by more managers than Haaland. Mo Salah was the most selected player, and he was also the most captained player. Most vice-captained player was Palmer. For this game week, Saka, of course, has been brought in the most, with 350,000 people bringing him in, followed by Nicholas Jackson. 313,000 have brought him in. Cunha has been brought in by 160,000. Salah has been brought in by 138,000. Palmer has been brought in by 136,000. So I guess you can see people are going with Saka, Salah, Palmer midfield. On the other end, 325,000 people have removed Mbumo. 243,000 have removed Haaland. 236,000 have removed Konate. 213,000 are done with Isaac. And Vadio, who didn't even start, goodness, that's so painful, has been removed by 114,000 managers. The player of the week was Kevin Schade, 23 points. The top manager this game week got 144 points. The team is called Rosie All Reds, and what this manager does is he chooses all Reds. So if you look at the team, which I will post up on our Instagram page, you will see that everyone in his team wears a red kit. So at the back, he had Onana, 6 points. Gabriel, 9. Aina, 9. Virgil van Dijk, 6. Rashford, 14. Salah, 13. Captain was Saka with 36. Bruno was there 9 points. Evan Nilsson, 12 points. Wood, 9 points. Wisa, 8 points. So everybody in his team has red somewhere. So that gave him a total of 144 points. In our table, the highest manager, Mr. Khalid Mohammed, got 105. So close. I was number 2 with 102. So Mr. Khalid had Raya in goal with 2 points. Gabriel gave him 9. Dan Burn gave him 4 points. Digne gave him 1. Rashford gave him 14. Saka, who was his captain, gave him 36. Salah gave him 13. Ahmad gave him 11. Haaland gave him 2. Strand Larsen gave him 11. And João Pedro gave him 2. Congratulations to Dream Killers. They killed my dream of being number 1 this week. Congratulations, manager Khalid Mohammed. So in our table, he got 105. I got 102. Keith Njagi, manager of Ngothe, got 100. Vic Nyadi got 100. And Sachivini got 100. So only 5 managers managed to get 100 and above. Well done. And just as I've mentioned, Sachivini, who got 100, he has increased his rank the most in terms of global ranking. He has jumped up by 1.8 million points. Ranks. Vic Nyadi, manager of Vic City, who won the league last season, he climbed the rank the most this week. He jumped up 46 positions. Whew. Maybe he's coming for the top. Watch out now. You can never put a champion down. In other people who've jumped up the table, Brian Tulinge, manager of All My Days, has jumped 36 points. And by points, I just mean ranks. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Madman Bielsa has jumped up 34 ranks. Smacha Cham, 33. And Khalid Mohammed, our leader, jumped up 30 points this week. 30 ranks. Reese's Set Pieces, managed by John Wangemi, has added 0.6 to his team value. Congratulations to you. Suraj Baigane's team has a best team value with 103.8. I'll give you one guess as to who has made the most transfers this week. Bum bum bum. You were correct. It is Don Clinton. He made 10 transfers this week. But to be fair to him, this is his best return so far. He made 10 transfers, lost 36 points, but got 86 points. So I guess he made 50. Yeah. When it comes to captaincy, Mo Salah was the most captained player by us managers, captained by 95 of us. Haaland was the second most popular captain choice, with 45 managers managing him. Saka was the third most popular manager option for captaincy. He was captained by 28 managers, including me. Well done to us. And then Palmer was captained by 24. Well done to you all as well. And then Cunha was captained by 8. Poleni Sana. Bomo was captained by 6. Bruno Fernandes captained by 5. That's a good differential. Solanke captained by 5 as well. Hope you had a good vice captain. João Pedro was captained by 4. I am so sorry to all of you. And Isak was captained by 3. Oof. Havertz was captained by 3. Not a bad decision. Son was captained by 2. Not a bad decision. I mean, it was a very bad decision. Madison captained by 1. I understand why, but it didn't work out. Kulusevski captained by 1. Somebody captained Rashford. Good decision. Somebody captained Wood. Good decision. Somebody captained Højlund. Not so good. Somebody captained De Bruyne. Not so good. Luis Diaz. I mean, it's not too bad. Nicholas Jackson. Good decision. Welbeck. Good decision. Sorry. Not a good decision. Dijan Raman Dangol, manager of the team Monster, used his wildcard this week. And because of it, he gained 87 points, which is 33 more points than he would have gained had he kept his team from last week. Other people who made transfers that benefited them are Brian Murillo, who gave 29 points, Chris Masika, 28 points, 49 Invincibles, 28 points, and rounding up the top 5 is Mark Yorche, 25 points. In terms of somebody who's been consistently rising is the manager Guan Kimko, who has been on the rise for the 9th straight week. Just all greens. Keep it up. The team name is Kim Chuxi. So the team with the most amount of goal scorers was my team. Team BV had 8 goals scored by my players. Keep it up, me. Thank you. In not so great news, Kevin Walker, manager of Anguka Nayo, like the name suggests, is just falling down. He's lost 1.1 million positions. Our biggest drop in league rankings is Pit Stank FC, managed by Haidar Yassin, dropped 46 places this week. Least points this week belongs to the manager Duncan Anzigare, manager of Real Vicenza. He got 25 points. Number 2 was Boaz Ogola, manager of Katambe, who got 30, tied with Hilary Malik of Malik United, 30. Freddie Fariz got 32, and Kevin Walker, 32 as well. There's always next week, guys. Lowest team value, Freddie Fariz, his team is valued at 97.9. It's tough. Manager Vinny McCory this week has the most players who have points on the bench. He has 22 points on the bench. And these points come from Palmer, who had 14, and Wisa, who had 8. Goodness, he really could have used these guys. He got 54, but nobody got more points than these 2 guys. Number 2 was Riga Norina, 20 points, tied with Don Clinton, who had 20 points on the bench. Wow, and Don Clinton got 86. And Dijan Raman Rangol had 19 points on the bench. And Kujichocha FC, managed by Mark Yoche, had 18 points on the bench. In other unfortunate news, Melvin Asakanya used his wildcard and got 12 points less than he would have gotten had he kept his previous team. It won't surprise you, but Don Clinton has got the most red arrows in our league, 12 in a row. He's keeping on. Looking at our table, at the top, the Walker Dead has held on to the lead and even added a bit. He got 87 points and has a grand total of 870 points. He had a 4-point lead last time. He has moved it to 10. Number 2 is the same, with Texas 10's manager of Tenor FC, got 81 points, 860 points. Number 3 got 86 points, and that is our highest riser in terms of the top 10. Kevin Mwachilimo, manager of the Schmetterling, 86 points, 845 points. Number 4 is Franklin Asiema, 839 points. Arnold Midunga, 832 points. John Wangemi, manager of Reese's Set Pieces, 830 points. Got 97 points. Well done. Turn Up, managed by MK, got 829 points, along with Duboy FPL, managed by Duboy Original, 829 points. Manager Architect Sadiq Suleiman got 826 points. And rounding up the top 10, we have Mark Mutegi, who has 825 points. Between number 1 and number 10 is just 45 points. Between number 1 and number 26 is 70 points. The average points for the game week was 60. So if you got 60 and above, well done. You're doing well. At the bottom of our table, we have Don Clinton. As usual, he has 241 points. Above him, we have Real Vincenza, 465 points. Above him, Freddie Fariz, 476. Patrick Kaiser, 501. And Boaz Ogola, 511. That's the bottom 5. So you can see that the gap between the top and the bottom really grown. As we look forward to the fixtures of tomorrow, yes, the game week starts tomorrow, Tuesday. Or if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the game week is today. It is December. The games are going to come quick and fast. The first game of the week sees Ipswich take on Crystal Palace. Now, these two teams are both teams that have been threatening to win, but they keep falling short. As Ipswich is a promoted side, the head-to-head doesn't really matter. Let me look at the injured players, or rather unavailable. For Crystal Palace, Kamada is still suspended, Wharton is doubtful, Riyadh and Franca are unavailable. For Ipswich, Tuanzebe, Johnson, Ogbene, Slicker, Hurst, Greaves, Phillips and Broadhead are unavailable. Ipswich were not bad against Nottingham Forest. You could argue they deserved more from the game. It just didn't happen, and that's been their season so far. It's like Luton, where things just didn't quite happen. I would say Smotrich, Delap and Hutchinson are still the best players from Ipswich, should you be looking to get into their players. Crystal Palace deserved more than a draw last time out against Newcastle. Gay was playing for both teams, had an assist for Crystal Palace and scored an own goal for Newcastle. It's like he's trying to impress his former, or rather his future employers. For Crystal Palace, Sarr, Mateta, Eze are the most fascinating options. If you're looking for a defensive option, Munoz, who scored, he could have had 2 goals. He would be the best defender to get from Crystal Palace. Or if you're a gambler, you can go with Gay. Leicester versus West Ham. Ruud van Nistelrooy has taken over Leicester, and I think this is too short a time for anything meaningful to have happened in training. I see this as still a great opportunity for West Ham to beat Leicester before Ruud's tactics take hold, should they be of value. Leicester were hammered 4-1 by Brentford last time out. Buonanotte and Vardy were their best players, and those are the only 2 I'll recommend from their team should you want to get into this team. From West Ham, for a weird reason, I feel like recommending their wing-backs. Emerson and Van Bissaka have been performing well for the last 2 game weeks. And if you count the last 3 they have goals in this one and then 2 clean sheets in the previous game weeks. So for the last 3 weeks, they have been great people to have in your team. When looking up top, I would say Paqueta will be involved in a goal in one way or another, and Jared Bowen. Kudus is finally back, so maybe that will add a dimension that they didn't have previously. it'll be interesting to see. Fulkrug is still out for West Ham. What a horrible signing that has been. Or rather unfortunate. Okoli is unavailable for Leicester along with Winks, Fatawu, Stolarik and Pereira. On Wednesday, Everton take on Wolves at home. Wolves were hammered last time out and Everton were hammered last time out. To be honest, I'll be very surprised if Wolves keep that same keeper in goal. Jose Sa, I think his name is. But apart from that, from Wolves, you really have Strand Larsen, Cunha, and I guess Bellegarde. From Everton, they're only good when they keep clean sheets. So I guess if you believe they can keep a clean sheet against Wolves, which I don't believe they will, it will be Pickford and your choice of defender. You could choose Ndiaye and McNeil going forward, but don't enter this game for Everton attackers. If anything, just get off Everton players right now. Forest will be taking on Manchester City at the Etihad. Manchester City are losing to everybody right now. Nottingham Forest have been a good defensive team so far. It's tough because you can never really rule out Manchester City, but their form is horrible. And from my recollection, Nuno Espirito Santo has been the kind of manager who tends to upset Mr. Pep. And when Pep is down, be sure this guy's going to come kicking him. For context, Nuno Espirito Santo was a manager of Wolves every time Wolves beat Manchester City. And in those games, Traore was immense. In this game, I think Wood is one of your best options, Morgan Gibbs-White. And then your choice of winger, either Langa or Callum Hudson-Odoi, because they will get change out of those Man City defenders. Danilo is out and Sangare is out for Forest. For Man City, Stones, Kovacic, Bob, Rodri are out. I never thought I'd be in this position, but it's really hard to recommend Manchester City players. Isn't that funny? They were beaten as they should have been by Liverpool. Even when they have chances, they don't take them. I'm only going to recommend Haaland because I just believe in him for no reason at this point, except history. But don't enter this game with Haaland. I'm sure a lot of people have gotten off him by now. And if you're in one of those positions, do not be getting a Manchester City defender. I do believe they will score, but only if he plays actual wingers. So hopefully he plays Doku or Savio. The problem of Pep Roulette, and as you can see right now, he's really trying to figure out what to do. This lineup was odd for me against Liverpool, and I think he doesn't have any confidence right now, so I think he's just going to be scrambling. The only person I know will play is Haaland. You see, even he changed the keeper and the keeper wasn't even injured. So Ederson's not even a sure bet anymore. I just don't know who's going to play. So take your best guess and go with it. Newcastle take on Liverpool. If there's only one good thing to say about Newcastle is that they tend to defend well. They try to be compact and they try to be hard to defeat. So that combination may make it a bit of a tougher game for Liverpool than Man City were. Liverpool seem to find a way. So this is a kind of game which could end up being 2-0 or 2-1 to them. Newcastle have been struggling to score. When I look at them, it just feels like they do not know how to make the right decisions going forward. There's so many passes they can give that they don't give. They don't see the runs. It's like they just need a playmaker. That's what it looks like to me. From Liverpool, Gakpo, Salah, Diaz. But Diaz may not start this game, might be Nunez. So Salah, just have Salah. And a defender. It seems like their defenders are catching up. For those of you who have been banking on Kelleher's points, well done to you, congratulations. Keep it up. From Newcastle, I would say Dan Burn, because he seems to defend well and gets bonus points whether they win or lose. Well, no, that's not true. But he tends to be the best performing defender and he's affordable. Moving forward, there's no one really right now. But I guess Isak, and then choose one of Harvey Barnes or Gordon. Newcastle tend to play well at home, so that could be something encouraging. They were miserable last time out against Crystal Palace. I just really don't see what they'll do going forward. I honestly believe a draw would be the best thing they could get in this game. Southampton versus Chelsea. This, for me, is the easiest game for captaincy choice because I think I'll be moving my captain to Palmer for this game. And for those of you who have Nicholas Jackson, this is an easy game for him to be captain. He's been scoring and he's in great form. Southampton were impressive last time out against Brighton, and they will probably threaten Chelsea's goal. Chelsea's defense is just meh. You're just counting on Chelsea to outscore them. If you're going to be getting a Southampton player, I would recommend Dibbling, Armstrong, and Archer. For Chelsea, Martinez. So why do I keep doing this? Nicholas Jackson, and then Palmer, and maybe Madueke. Actually, scratch that. Kukureya. That would be the third player from Chelsea I'd recommend. Kukureya. Reece James is injured and unavailable. Fofana picked up a hamstring injury, will be out for 4 to 5 weeks. On the other end, Ramsdale broke his finger, is out. Lallana, Bazunu, Bednarek, Onwachu, Stewart, and Smallbone are unavailable. Who is better between Arsenal and Manchester United? Now, Arsenal and Manchester United are coming off great victories, great wins, and both of these teams will be buoyed by those performances. Manchester United seem to be figuring things out, and to be honest, Amad Diallo, Rashford, and Bruno Fernandes are the 3 players I would recommend from this team. Zax has just scored, but that's just one game. Let's see if he does it again. Arsenal, Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, Havertz. I think both teams will score in this game, so I would not recommend any defenders. But if you have them, both teams are good defensively, so it's possible that this game just ends 0-0. But I doubt it. I think there are goals in this game. White and Tomiyasu are unavailable for Arsenal. Evans, Yoro, and Lindelof are unavailable for Man U. Recent history favours Arsenal. They've won 4 of their last 5 Premier League encounters. Aston Villa versus Brentford. Schade was impressive for Brentford last time out. I know a lot of people are now have lost their faith in Bomo. Aston Villa have been in terrible form, and let me just read you their last results. Chelsea, they were beaten 3-0. They drew 0-0 with Juventus, drew with Crystal Palace, were beaten by Liverpool, beaten by Club Brugge, beaten by Tottenham, beaten by Crystal Palace, drew with Bournemouth. Their last victory in the Premier League came in October. We're in December now. Onana and Ramsey are injured for Aston Villa. For Brentford, Hickey, Gomez, Da Silva, Ayer, and Henry are out. I honestly wouldn't recommend a player to get into in this game because of their form. But if you had to, I would say Digne, Watkins, Rogers. And if you're entering Brentford, I would say Wisa. I guess recency bias, give Schade a try. Maybe he's on the start of some great run. Doesn't hurt to try. He's 5.1, so you just get him off after that. And after that, maybe Nathan Collins at the back. Fulham versus Brighton. Fulham always an interesting team because so much could happen. They've got so many options. They have 2 draws and 3 wins for Fulham. So Fulham are slightly favoured in recent times. Fulham have been up and down this season. They drew last time out 1-1, with Kearney getting the goal and then getting sent off the previous weekend. Joachim Andersen got injured and then they got beaten by Wolves. So they've been a bit unfortunate. I would recommend Iwobi and Emil Smith-Rowe from this team. If you believe in their defenders, you could try out maybe Tete. He's been in good form of late. And if not, you probably already have Robinson or Leno and keep them. I don't believe this is a clean sheet game though. Brighton were lucky not to lose when they played Southampton. Mitoma has been in good form, so I would still recommend Mitoma as your first choice from that team. Estupinian has been getting random bonus points here and there, so I would recommend him at the back. And now your choice of either Welbeck or João Pedro, whichever one tickles your fancy. The last game of this game week will be on Thursday, and we'll see Bournemouth take on Tottenham. Tottenham have won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. I believe on their day, Bournemouth can beat absolutely anybody. They were really impressive with the hat-trick of assists and goals from Evan Nilsson and Kluivert, and those are the first 2 players I'll recommend. At the back, I had recommended either Kerkez or Senesi, and I'm really happy that if you chose Kerkez that he delivered. And those are still the two I'd recommend from the back. From Spurs, it's really tricky because now it's like, is Solanke fit again? Is he well? Has he recovered from whatever was keeping him away? If not, Brennan Johnson, Son, and will Kulusevski play? We don't know. So Brennan Johnson, Son, that's about it. For Bournemouth, Scott, Araujo, Sinisterra are injured. Bentancur, Romero, Vicario, Van de Ven, Moore, Richarlison, Odebar are unavailable. I guess you could also go with Timo Werner should you want a third Spurs player. I just don't believe that there'll be a clean sheet in this game. Looking at possible captains for Game Week 14, when it comes to Ipswich versus Crystal Palace, there's no outright clear captain for me. Leicester versus West Ham, I'm not sure I would venture into a captain in this game. Everton versus Wolves, I could see people captaining Cunha in this game. Man City versus Forest, Wood and Haaland are still the people's choice. Liverpool versus Newcastle, definitely Salah. Southampton, Chelsea, Palmer, or Nicholas Jackson. Man United versus Arsenal, I mean, you could still go with Saka. And for Man United, you could go with Fernandes or Rashford. Aston Villa versus Brentford, I could see people let's see, Brentford. This is not going to be an easy game, but Villa's form is not great. I could see Wisa, Mbomo, even Shada being a surprise captain. I mean, especially for those who captained him last week. But none of those were in our group. Aston Villa, Watkins, or Rogers, but don't captain a Villa player right now. Fulham versus Brighton. Mitoma has been good so far. Keep it up. I wouldn't quite recommend a captain from Fulham. Bournemouth versus Spurs. Let's see. For Bournemouth, I would say Kluivert or Evan Nilsson. For Spurs, Brennan Johnson could be fine. This could be also a game Maddison is back, but don't captain it. Don't captain Maddison. Yeah, and that's about it. When it comes to the FDR, Arsenal have Man United, then Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, Ipswich. After the Man United game, goodness, I think it would be wise to go all in on Arsenal. Aston Villa have Brentford, Southampton, Forest, then they have City and Newcastle. So in theory, City would be hard, but not really. Given their form, all of these games are difficult for them. I'm not sure how long they can keep up a bad month like they had last month. Bournemouth have Tottenham, Ipswich, West Ham, Man United and Crystal Palace. Honestly, this is the right time to get into Bournemouth. Brentford have Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Forest and Brighton. Oh, those are not easy fixtures. It's mixed. It will be competitive. These are competitive fixtures for them. Brighton have Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford. These are good fixtures. All very winnable. Very winnable. Chelsea have Southampton, Tottenham, Brentford, Everton, Fulham. In theory, this could be the games that kick off a good, I don't want to say title challenge, but this could solidify their number 3 position on the table. Crystal Palace have Ipswich, City, Brighton, Arsenal and Bournemouth. Whoa. These are not easy games, but they're not easy to beat also. I could see them getting a result against Ipswich and City and Brighton. I could see them losing to Arsenal and challenging Bournemouth, but also don't get into Palace. Everton have Wolves, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. Goodness. I'm going to get out of my Everton defense, and I recommend the same action to you all. Fulham have Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool, Southampton, and Chelsea. These are, 4 out of these 5 games are not easy for Brighton, and I would encourage you to get out of of Fulham assets. Ipswich have Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves, Newcastle, Arsenal. Ipswich have been competitive, and they will continue to be competitive. Leicester have West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle, Wolves, and Liverpool. I just don't know what kind of a manager Ruud is, and these 5 games will give us an idea of what he's trying to do. It's not a soft landing, so it will be baptism of fire. Liverpool have Newcastle, Everton, Fulham, Tottenham, and Leicester. Honestly, I don't see a game that they're going to lose here. Okay, Tottenham, anything could happen in that game, but outside that game, I believe they should beat the rest. Man City have Forest, Crystal Palace, Man United, Aston Villa, and Everton. They've been losing to everybody, so they could lose all of these games. They look easy on paper, but you can make a case that any of these teams outside Everton will beat them, and I will agree with you. Man United have Arsenal, Forest, City, Bournemouth, and Wolves. This will be a good test for Amorim. These are quite competitive fixtures outside the City one. Newcastle have Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich, Aston Villa. If you knew what you were going to get from Newcastle, I would say get into Newcastle, especially at the back. They seem to be hard to defeat. So after the Liverpool game, their defense could be something worth looking into. Forest have Man City, Man United, Aston Villa, Brentford, and Tottenham. These will be challenging games for them. They're not favored in any of these fixtures, and they would do well to change the narrative in these fixtures. Southampton have Chelsea, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Fulham, and West Ham. I don't know if there's an easy fixture for them. I believe they will be beaten in all of these games. Spurs have Bournemouth, Chelsea, Southampton, Liverpool, and Forest. It's a mixed bag. I could see them beating everybody apart from Chelsea and Liverpool, but I could see them also beating everybody. But I could also see them losing to everybody. That's just who Spurs are right now. West Ham have Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. If this guy does not get 9 points out of these 5 matches, he should be fired. But then, as you all know, I'm a hater of Lopetegui, so I might be a bit biased. But these are all winnable fixtures for West Ham. They should be. Wolves have Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester, Man United. Wolves should be competitive in all of these fixtures, and I would argue they'd be favourites for all of these fixtures apart from West Ham and Man United. But given West Ham's form, they're favourites for that game. Maybe not the Man United game, but they should change their keeper. Now, the games will be coming quick and fast. The game week starts tomorrow. I hope you're all ready. Make your teams now, make them quickly after each game week, and don't be caught unawares. Apart from that, have a good day. We'll see you on the pitch tomorrow. Bye.